Let me take a shot at this. You know that weird feeling of pressure you get right before you begin something new, right? It's like the blinking cursor on your screen, your sneakers sitting at the door, or that idea that's been in your mind for ages. You convince yourself that you're just not prepared yet. But deep down, you realize that isn't really the case. It's not that you're avoiding the task itself. You're dodging the feeling that comes with getting started. You're scared to face your limits and to see that the idea you've imagined might not be as great when you try to make it real. The ironic part is, the more you delay, the heavier that feeling gets. Each little pause makes it seem like you might not be the kind of person who gets things done. But that's not true at all, because not starting isn't about being lazy. It's about trying to protect yourself. And once you understand what your mind is shielding you from, everything starts to shift. Stick with me, because by the time we're done, you'll realize that starting something isn't just a skill. It's all about how you handle fear, control, and belief in yourself. Before continuing, subscribe, give a like, activate the bell to be notified when I post the next video, and leave a comment because it takes a second of your time, but it means a lot to me because it helps me grow the channel. Thank you. Have you ever realized that you always make a plan before diving into something? You get everything just right, the perfect setup, the best notebook, the exact playlist that somehow makes you feel prepared. You think it's all about having discipline, but it's really not. It's your need for control disguising itself as being ready. Your mind is saying, if I control everything, I can't fail. However, having control doesn't really help you make progress. It actually stops you from moving forward. Imagine a plane. It doesn't wait for the ideal weather to take off. Instead, it adjusts while flying. Striving for perfection may feel safe because it keeps you from taking action. You might feel like you're accomplishing things, but you're not really putting yourself on the line. The solution isn't to plan even more. It's to be curious. Ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen if I just start, even if I mess up? Curiosity doesn't shy away from mistakes. It gathers information. When you see your first try as an experiment instead of a final judgment, you start to relax. And in that relaxation, something wonderful happens. You find creativity, flow, and movement. Progress begins the moment you swap out perfection for just being present. Here's something odd about how our minds work. We worry more about putting in effort for nothing than missing out on chances. That's why getting started can feel risky. Starting means using your energy on something that might not succeed. You think to yourself, what if I work on this for months and it leads to nothing? But we often forget that not doing anything is already wasting months without us even noticing. Experts call this loss aversion. Our brains prefer the safety of possibilities because those possibilities have not let us down yet. It's a tricky mindset. Ideas that haven't been tried can't fail. But here's a truth that's hard to face. Ideas that remain unrealized eventually fade away. They don't stay amazing, they become regrets. So change the question you ask. Instead of asking, is this something I should spend my time on? Ask yourself, what can I learn from this, no matter what happens? Every new attempt teaches you something about yourself. This is especially true for the ones that don't go smoothly. The only real wasted effort is when you don't try at all. Isn't it funny? When you stop being so careful with your time, that's when you really start to make the most of it. You wait for that ideal moment, the right feeling, a solid plan, or a burst of energy that finally pushes you to take action. But the reality is, that moment never arrives. Being ready does not happen before you do something. Instead, it's something that comes from taking action. It is like waiting in a thick mist and thinking you'd all begin walking only when you can see the path ahead. You don't realize that actually moving is what helps clear the fog. Many people mix up understanding with being sure. They think, once I know exactly how to do it, then I'll begin. But starting out is usually messy. It doesn't have to be perfect. So, consider lowering your expectations to the point where it feels silly. You don't begin because you feel prepared. You start in order to get prepared. And once you take that first step, a new challenge comes up. Your mind's need to be in control becomes a bit of an obsession. We often think that having momentum comes from being motivated, but that's not true. Motivation isn't like gas for a car. It's more like a sign that comes after you've started doing something. Real momentum is created from small things. It comes from little wins that your brain can actually feel good about. Imagine trying to open a heavy door. That first bit is super hard. But once it starts to move, it gets easier because of gravity. This is why quick wins are more important than having a perfect plan. Tidy up your desk. Write a title. Create one rough paragraph. Each tiny success says to you, "Look, I can begin." And your brain pays attention to that. It takes in proof faster than it takes in advice. So stop waiting for a burst of motivation. Instead, make a system. Focus on one task at a time, completing each one. At first, it might feel squeaky and slow, even pointless. But if you keep going, things will change. The task gets easier. Momentum creates its own pull. And soon, you won't be waiting for motivation. It will start coming after you. We don't just have a hard time beginning tasks. We have a hard time beginning as who we really are. Deep down, your mind is loyal to the story you've been telling it for a long time. The overthinker, the procrastinator, the one who never completes anything. These aren't just habits, they are identities you've unknowingly practiced. Here's the tricky part. Your brain wants to stick with what it knows, even if it's not good for you. Change is not just uncomfortable, it's confusing. It's like trying to write with your other hand. It feels awkward, slow, and wrong. But that uncomfortable feeling isn't failure. It shows that something is changing. Every small start means you're choosing a new identity. I'm someone who sits down even when I don't want to. I'm someone who can try things and feel good about giving it a shot, even if I mess up. That's how you break free from this cycle. Not by using positive phrases or feeling motivated, but by showing yourself what's possible. You don't have to become an entirely new person right away. You just start, and little by little, you begin to change. You keep saying to yourself, "I'll begin when I feel more energetic." But here's the reality. Energy doesn't just appear at the start. It's not something you get for resting. It's what happens when you move. Imagine it like charging a battery by walking. You don't just sit around waiting for energy. You build it up by being active. The toughest part isn't the actual work. It's getting started. That initial push when your body wants to stay still and your mind agrees, making you think it's better to wait. But that's not true. Here's the surprising thing. Your brain releases a feel-good chemical called dopamine after you make progress, not before. That's why mindlessly scrolling through your phone seems easier than taking action. It tricks your mind into feeling like you've accomplished something, so give this a try. Promise yourself you'll work for just 5 minutes. That's all, just 5. Because once you get your body moving, your mind will catch up. Moving will create your drive. And soon enough, you won't be waiting for energy anymore. You'll be making it. You've actually had the power to do this all along. You just needed to switch it on. Here's an honest truth that people don't always want to admit. Every great creation started off as a bit of a mess. The first version, the initial workout, the first try, they were all not very good. But the people we look up to aren't just naturally good at starting things. They are individuals who complete their rough beginnings. You can always make something better later. You can improve, change, or fix things, but you can't fix something that hasn't been made yet. Having a rough start doesn't mean you failed. It's being real. It's like saying, "I'd rather look silly while trying than perfect while thinking." Every messy draft, every uneven effort, every awkward moment shows that you'll be making progress while others are still waiting to do it perfectly. So, here's a little challenge. Begin something badly on purpose. Write the worst paragraph you can think of. Record the worst version. Draw the ugliest picture. Then, pay attention to what happens. The fear will fade away. You'll feel a sense of relief. Because once you stop expecting your first step to be perfect, you start taking it more easily and naturally. Maybe the real reason you didn't start before wasn't just fear or being lazy. It was about wanting to feel safe. You weren't holding back from growing. You were trying to protect yourself from feeling let down. But now you realize that every small beginning helps you rebuild trust in yourself. You're not behind. You were just preparing in your own way. If this resonated with you, consider subscribing and sharing it with someone who is still waiting to begin. Sometimes the bravest action is just stepping forward.